and welcome to the podcast where friends discuss environmental policies from around the planet. Hello, lovely Policy Pals. We're back with another episode of the Planet Policy Pals. We're still doing these interviews. We are on break, and this is our second to last break episode, actually. I'm Ala, and I'm joined here by my wonderful kind of friend, Ajah. Hello, girl. How are you?
Hey, I'm great, except for the kind of part, but sure.
I love you. And of course, we have a guest today, a fellow Nigerian. Decided to bring another one on the show because we're so fantastic. Ken, hello. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, so today we are going to talk a little bit about waste management in Abia State, and Ken is a businessman, so we'll talk a little bit about what his business does. But before we even get into the episode, let's talk about Newsly. You guys hear us talk about Newsly all the time now. It's the revolutionary app that lets you listen to news, podcasts, and pretty much the entire internet all at once. It has everything from sports to science and pop culture. It's available and it'll read it to you. They have trending podcasts from over 50 countries, including ours. So, of course, go listen to us.
Please head to www.newsly.me and use promo code PlanetPals to receive a 1-month free premium subscription, courtesy of the awesome Newsly team. Link and code is also in the description, so go rest your eyes and gain some knowledge. Go ahead, guys. We are not getting paid, so please, still listen to them. They're pretty amazing.
I love how you remind them every time we do this that we're not getting paid. Anyway, today, like I said, we're talking about the issue of waste management in Abia State, Nigeria, specifically in the city of Abia. So just a little background. The reason we chose to have Ken on here is because he's a member of that community, but he's also a businessman in that community. And we'll get into that a little bit. But a little background on the waste issue that's plaguing not just the state of Abia, not just Nigeria, but the continent of Africa as a whole. 125 million tons of municipal solid waste, that is just waste, household waste that you generate, regular commercial waste, stuff that's not industrial, were generated in Africa in 2012 alone. And that number is expected to double by 2025. So this growth is so significant that any decrease in waste generation in other regions globally will still be overshadowed by waste generation in Africa. And if you guys recall from our Bamako Extra policy, Africa receives a substantial amount of electronic and hazardous waste. So we're generating a lot of MSWs and then we're receiving a lot of hazardous waste. And the problem with this is that most African countries and communities within those countries do not have the best waste collection systems. The average municipal waste collection rate in the African continent is actually 55%. And more than 90% of the waste generated is disposed of at landfills and dump sites that are uncontrolled. And a lot of times they have these open air burning. So 19 of the world's 50 biggest dump sites are actually located in sub-Saharan Africa, which is a problem. You know what I mean? Especially when you think about the fact that 13% of that MSW is plastic and 57% is organic waste. So the bulk of what is being dumped could be composted, could be recycled, but isn't right now because of the systems in place. And that's why Ken is here, because Abia is a very busy city. It's a very busy section in Abia State. It's a very commercial area, and a lot of waste is generated there. In fact, one of the biggest environmental issues that is plaguing Abia State right now is the issue of waste collection and waste management. So we have him on here as a member of that community and as somebody who is a businessman, like I said, in that community, and he's going to tell us a little bit about that. But Ajah, tell us, since he works in the textile industry, what do we know about waste from that industry?
Well, as we've talked about textiles so extensively in our previous series, or series 2, remember how we talked about fast fashion and how it's really destroying the environment? Well, yeah, so
Sure.
global production of clothing we know has doubled since 2000, and we're only keeping them for half as long as we used to before. Now people think if they've worn something even twice, it's old, right? So an estimated of 85% of all of this textile, it goes to dump every year. And globally, that's essentially equivalent to one garbage truck of textiles being burned or going into landfill like every second. Speaking of Nigeria, on average, an individual generates about 0.11 kilograms of textile waste per day, right? And the way that they dispose it is just like open land surface dumping or open air burning. And there's very little awareness among the locals on how to actually dispose of this waste efficiently, right? Even though recycling has emerged across Africa, which is driven more by poverty, unemployment, and socioeconomic need rather than by public and private sector design. But right now, an estimated of about 70 to 80% of the MSW generated in Africa is recyclable, yet only 4% is recycled. And there's informal waste pickers that are active in recovering valuable resources from the waste that doesn't really cost them a lot. And municipalities and private companies, they don't have to bear any of the costs. It's just local people who are picking it up.
Yes, that is becoming even more popular. I think we talked about that again on that Bamako convention episode, and you guys know I usually have the numbers, but I don't right now. However, I will refer you to episodes 13 and 14 when we talked about textiles. And on the Bamako convention episode, we did talk about how with electronic waste, you have these people just going there and picking the stuff up, you know? So, Ken, again, thank you for coming on the show. Abba is known for being a hub, like I said, for artisans, for creators, for inventors, for entrepreneurs. And it has been that way as long as I can remember. In fact, my great-grandmother had a shop in Abba back in the day before I was ever born. She actually took place in the Abba women's riots.
I love your grandmother already. Great-grandmother.
1929.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm pretty familiar with the area, and I've been there as a child frequently because you can find almost anything there. You know what I mean? So you started Fabrics by Nonso, this company that's a textile company, joining this already rich culture over there. What inspired you to start that?
Well, what actually inspired me to start up my company, Fabrics by Nonso, was because of I like fashion and designing. Okay, so like for the basic sciences, we were taught when growing up that one of the major needs of man has to be shelter, clothing, and then food. And over the recent years, with technological advancements, people has to reshape the way they see or deal with clothing. So because of the passion people have for fashion and designing, we grew up to grow more brands. And today, those brands are worldwide, and then all people just want is just to clothes. But it has moved from just clothing to a designing. So people now have to recreate and remodel what they wear and how they wear it. So I have passion for clothing, and I just thought, like, after my NYSC, maybe I should just start a clothing line and stuff. But I chose to start from having an only my company, Fabrics by Nonso, and then probably grow it from there and see how it goes. So I think one of my major drivers is just for the fact that I really like fashion and designing businesses so well. I like it as a person, and I like to always try to recreate. So I think I'm just good, and I'm in line with it.
Well, that's pretty fantastic. And that's two things that you have over Ajah and I. Oh, I'm sorry. Ajah recently became a fashion girl, everyone. She told me the other day that she's a fashion girl now. So I guess
What do
it's
you
just
mean
something
now?
you have
I've
over
always
me.
been one, but yes, recently it has been I've been quite into it. And like you said, just like kind of putting things together. I had like a lot of broken earrings or lost earrings, and I would just like started putting them together to create my own jewelry and kind of like, not have it be wasted and buy new things. So yes, girl, I will take it.
Okay, Rihanna. Anyway, like you said, Ken, you said that, this has been something that you're passionate about, and what we wear is an expression of ourselves. Nigeria, we used to have something that's very common in Nigeria. If you're listening to this and you're not from Nigeria, is to have your clothes made, especially when you go to an event, weddings, or the parties like Owambe, things like that. Yeah. You have a tailor that makes your clothes or somebody that'll design an outfit for you. It's very common, and the prices, they fall into huge ranges. But now, as the world is moving towards this fast fashion, Fashion Nova, Shein, people are buying more ready-made clothes. And I think that's, like Ajah said, we're seeing a lot of clothes being disposed rather than these high quality things that you would save and then wear again down the line. You're not going to throw away your nice lace material. You know what I mean? So I know that Fabrics by Nonso really tries to focus on local materials. Is there any reason that you do that? And do you see any challenge doing that, especially now that everybody just wants this quick and easy, cheap stuff?
Okay, for the local materials, the thing is, we try to create, a beautiful experiment with our clients. So, which means that we leave the table to you, so you tell us how you want your outfit to look like. So, by so doing, we curate exactly what is in your mind, and it's an expression of who you are when you wear something nice and what you really want. So, working with the locals, I've actually opened up my mind and opened up my client's mind to probably have a sense of fashion designing and be like, okay, I want this like this and I want this like that. And what we do is we create the exact thing that you want. Okay, so it gives you an impulse for creativity, and then it gives you an overlook experience for an actual beautiful expression.
I hope you guys heard that. Please, you guys, shop local. It's very important. You can still have you'll probably have something more unique than if you went and you bought the dress that everybody's going to be wearing out anyway.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, Ken, since your focus is textile, and we've constantly talked about our own episodes that we did on Textile 13 and 14. And if you've heard on that episode, we talked about the waste issue that the fashion industry poses, especially considering most textiles, they can take up to 200 years or more to decompose, right? So how do you think small business owners in the textile industry, like yourself, can really help improve this issue?
Well, the thing is, fabrics takes a whole lot of years to decompose. But working smartly now with the 21st century technologies and advancements, there are ways to make them degradable. Okay? Like we all know cotton. If your fabrics are made with natural materials like cotton or hems, it takes like 5 months to degrade. If it's made out of a natural material and it is certified degradable, at least 99% of the fabric must be compostable. So, which means that fabric must be of an original nature. Both the trims, the thread, the buttons, it must be of an organic nature. So you can be able to decompose. And it's been going on for years. I mean, people has been clothing themselves up for years. So, to be honest, we've been having issues with trying to decompose, and then it poses a very big threat to our ecology and our environment. But as a business owner, I'll actually charge fabric manufacturers to always make use of natural materials, like cotton and hemp. It actually aids in decomposition of these fabrics. So if you get your materials from the organic nature of things like your thread, your buttons, then the organic wool, the bamboo, the silk, the jute, the hemp, they are all biodegradable fabrics. And when you use them to create your clothing, I mean, it will probably get decomposed after like 5 months. So it boils down to telling manufacturers in the fashion business to always make use of natural materials when creating or manufacturing clothes for users.
I really like that. Yeah.
Especially since you mentioned hemp. Like, I know that India actually has a really big industry with hemp right now. They're putting a lot of money and resources into researching hemp as an alternate material for textile, right? In Pakistan, I know that's not a thing right now because hemp is just so it's such a controversial thing, right? But in Nigeria, how much of an industry do we see with hemp?
From our chat, I don't think Nigeria makes use of hemp that a lot. We probably make use of cotton a lot because we have local manufacturers that produces cotton in Nigeria here. I think one is in Kano. So we make use of cotton more than we make.
No, that makes sense.
I really like what you said about the buttons, thinking of things like bamboo. That's really innovative, you know what I mean? And in my opinion, you'll have a way more unique outfit anyway than if you're using plastic buttons. So that's kind of cool.
Yes, exactly.
Do you know how I got like the Taylor Swift cardigan? It's a really expensive and like really good quality cardigan, right? But the buttons on there, oh my God. It's like the buttons are, you know, like those cheap toys, the made in China toys that you get. It was that plastic. Terrible. So yeah, actually that's a great point. No, that's something that I recently noticed. I'm like, dude, look at these buttons. They do not fit the cardigan at all. But we would actually like to know if there was anything. We talked a lot about textile in our own episode. Is there anything in the episode that you would like to provide us feedback on? It can be good or bad. We're open to learning, mostly.
Yeah. Or on any of our episodes you've listened to, is there something about the show even that you want to give us feedback on? We're asking all our guests, so feel free to answer honestly.
All right, so I actually listened to the episode and I must recommend the guest speaker and every of you that was involved in that episode did an amazing job. I think it was more about sensitizing the people about how they should be cautious when creating fabric so as not to interfere with natural plans of biodegrading all of them. Because the reason why we are here is to create and probably after creating you make sure that whatever you create should not pose as a threat to the environment. That was a very nice episode and I probably got a lot to learn from there and I really learned a lot from that.
Thank you so much. I mean, it was Ajah's idea, but I like to feel like the spirit of the episode was me. So thank you very much for that compliment.
Yeah, and I'll take the compliment because so far all the people who told us what episodes they like, they have been my ideas. So thanks, Ala. Moving on.
My mother did that on purpose, Ajah. She knows. She knows. She did it to me on purpose.
I will forever. I'm taking that to my grave and yours, honey.
But that was an amazing episode. Like I really had to listen twice just to get in touch with. And there were citations that was going on there. There was quotations that was going on there, and I really enjoyed every bit of it. And there were still facts and figures that you guys released during the podcast, and I really killed in, and I really learned a lot from that too.
So, getting into this issue in Abia State, right? Currently, like we said, this waste management thing is a big problem. And experimental studies that have actually been done in Abia and in Abia State as a whole show that about 48% of the total solid waste is organic and compostable, whereas recyclable waste accounts for about 4.7 to 10%. So, we're hearing that a lot of the waste management is just open air landfills and burning. What do you think about the government's current solid waste management plan in Abia? Do you see any recycling? What do you think how does it look to you, what is happening right now?
Being in a commercial hub city like Abia State, you'll be exposed to so many things that has to do with a typical state that does production and manufacturing. And sometimes most of our production and manufacturing have to make use of, that is why I said earlier that we should make use of natural materials. So it actually help the biodegradable processes. Now, one of the biggest issues that affects production is waste management. And if the waste is not properly managed and evacuated well, it's going to be an adverse effect on the environment. And the policies that the state government has embarked on these past few years for the waste management, I think is yielding just a little percentage of positiveness in it. And I think there are just some factors that are in it and making those processes so slow. All right. And I think one of the biggest issues we'll be having about the waste management and the policies my state government have decided to use is the issue of lack of sustainable or suitable technology. You know, is one of the greatest constraints of effective waste management. So the insufficient waste collection equipment leads to poor maintenance and it leads to refuse accumulation in illegal sites. So because it's often an open air lift, so most of the times when you move to junctions or you move to an enclosed area, there is always dirt in the open. And when there is so much dirt in the open like that, it exposes us to health hazard and so many health issues. So one of the issues that has to deal with this technology is that the city are running short of equipment and waste collection equipment. So sometimes you can come out and then you see that they are all heaped, and the timing for the death might actually be like, maybe they can say like in 7 days you can come to pick up. But before, dealing with a city that is as commercial as Abia, before 3 or 4 days, those trucks are already filled with so much dirt. And being to the fact that it's an open area, so it makes us susceptible to health and health hazards. So I think one of the issues is equipment. Then after that one, another bigger thing is poor funding. Because I think if ASEPA, as a bigger body that manages a waste, are giving enough sensitization, both in monetary kind and intellectually, it will go a long way to help them to curb these issues, And this mechanism requires constant funding to achieve the targeted goal of sustainable environment, because we are looking forward to become a developed country. So if we want to keep taking baby steps to reach there, then there should be limited and poor maintenance of machineries and limited staff. I think another thing that I fault in the policy my government has been using too is because it makes the dumping look so surreal. Like the dumping site becomes an eyesore, and before you know it, it's not something you should be happy looking at.
No, definitely. I mean, to look at, to be around, not to mention something that people forget about sometimes is when you have waste that piles up on the streets, it gets into your drainage, it creates a flood problem, and it actually leaks into the ground. You have what we call leachate, which is basically water that goes through the water tables, goes through the ground into your groundwater sources. And in a place like Nigeria, when you drill boreholes for your own private water tanks or things like that, or wells, you could tap into what is now contaminated water. So even more important than ever. Thank you for that, Ken.
And like you said, like a lot of Nigerians make the argument, and I know that because I just hear a lot of them, just that it's not that there's a lack of laws and policies, right, that are the country's main problems, like you said yourself, but it's kind of like the lack of infrastructure and follow through on these existing laws, which honestly is a problem that I can relate to even here in Pakistan. We have laws and there's just so much legislation, but the implementation, there's just a very vast gap between the two. How do you feel about this, and like what are some of the examples that you see of this limitation?
I feel like there should be more sensitizations for the citizens itself, so we can be able to manage our waste personally, before bringing it out here, which means taking care of our solo environment first of all, And but you know, the government has to come in first. But before the government comes in first, individually you need to play a role, you know, in making sure that our environment are actually clean. You know, like when to dump, you know, how to dump and not, and like around here too, we have like open sewages sometimes too, and then when there is a heavy flood across the cities, I mean, and then you don't probably dump your refuse well, or the dump site have filled up. You see, there's an overflow, and then it moves to the drainage, and then it blocks them, and it creates more environmental hazard and health hazard for citizens across.
Yeah, so Ken, basically, in simpler words, you want all out to know that collective action can work from individuals?
Ajwa,
Exactly.
Thank you.
first of all, Ajwa, I did not say collective action is impossible. My thing is coming from a background like Nigeria and also growing up, seeing everything that my mother and her friends try to do as far as activism, I myself still participate in activism. I volunteer. I try to use my voice, small as it is, but I just sometimes feel a little cynical about it. Sometimes I just feel like unless you have a response from the people that you're speaking to, you're not going to see any change. That's my thing, okay? And I could believe in it a little more. You guys are right. All right, I should be a little more positive. That's fine. That's fair.
I had to say it. I'm sorry.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some of these quote unquote policies. In 2015, 7 years ago, Abia state government set up the Abia City Waste and Cleanup Exercise Intervention Unit. They have to start using shorter names. I can't take this anymore. To complement the Abia State Environmental Sanitation Authority. They need to shorten these. So, as a resident, did you see any improvement due to these units being created? Are you seeing any headway? Have you seen these groups working in your city?
Yes, and I think since the creation of ASEPA, like you said, they need the shorter name, so let me just give you ASEPA, that's what we call it. So, since the creation of ASEPA, since they came on board, they've been at least a reasonable amount of management they've done for the waste, but more work needs to be done, all right? Because now these bodies that are responsible for clearing this waste, sometimes they act behind shadows, and I don't know why they do that. And whenever they act behind, they walk behind shadows, it makes the dump site become so gruesome to look at. Okay, and they've actually done a couple of things. I mean, they have big trucks at the junctions. They have big trucks at the streets, and sometimes they tend to pick up. They walk till like probably at night, but you know the population just keep increasing, and the production and manufacturing efficiency just keep increasing. So I think they should improve on the work efficiency for this ASEPA, and probably get them in line with the 21st, like I said earlier, the 21st century technological equipment, so they can be able to probably work and perform better. So yes, I think they're actually doing the job, but it's actually low below the line.
We love hearing that. We really do. We love seeing policies or seeing organizations that are actually working, that are implemented and working. That brings me so much joy. As a follow-up, when you reached out to us on social media, we talked a little bit, and you really talked about how you've seen a change, especially in the responses from younger people, to demand more from legislators and government in general. And I know the Abia State chapter of the Nigerian Environmental Society has pledged to develop and recommend environmental strategies to the Federal Ministry of Environment. My issues with the Federal Ministry of Environment in Nigeria are for another episode. But could you highlight any of these groups or movements that you've noticed, or just the spirit in general you've noticed, if any?
All right. So there is a magnificent foundation body in Abia right now, and I think it's filled with so many young persons that they're doing so well for themselves, and is a youth-focused organization that is creating a socio-economic and socio-political balance and opportunity for young persons. And if I'm permitted to say, the name of the foundation is Vision Alive, and it's Vision Alive Foundation, and they are aimed at leading sustainable development in Africa. But the major key role and the key point has to be from our city first, because we can't give what we don't have. So what they're doing is they're harnessing young persons of similar interests that has to deal with the environmental, socioeconomic and sustainable development and personal goals. So I've seen them a couple of times come together. They take out time from their schedules. They sanitize and clean the city up. They sensitize people of different ages and different organizations. They go to the market, they sensitize the people on the market on how you should behave, how you should act, and how you should actually help your environment to grow better. And then they move to schools. They lecture the kids. Sometimes they have extracurricular activities that they can do outside the school timing, so they can actually teach these young boys and girls and the kids and adults to how to probably take care of their environment and probably instill some personal development in them. And I'm quite happy with a couple of groups I've seen in Abia here, and they are doing so much for the city, And I think for a couple of years now, for 5 to 7 years now, we've been doing the UN week. You know about the UN week, so we'll be doing the UN week too. And for every time we do the UN week comes up, there is always a keynote speaker from different spaces in Nigeria, and they come down to lecture notes on youths and how we should behave. So I think they're playing a major role in sensitizing the youths. Why I keep saying the youth is because I think the youths are the future of the country. So what you pass down to them and they grow with it, they get to pass down to the people that are following suit positively. So if you ignore teaching the youth what they're supposed to know now, they can pose out as a big threat tomorrow in the future. So as a community that is a commercial hub, we see so many young persons that are into vocational skills. Okay? So these mini groups in Abia here help to shape and redesign your thinking and probably help you put you in line so you can understand the 21st century goals and then probably get in line with it. And I think they all make sure to fixate a policy that can actually help our environment grow and become better. And in so doing, we actually become a better person individual and then get to pass it around people around us,
Yeah, thank you so much. Honestly, same, even though because I've never been to Nigeria, I don't know much I just hear a lot about River State because that's where Allah is from. But hearing about Abia State and especially since you've talked about collective action and how you see even that coming forward, I love to see it even more. Do you think that some of these changes that even the rest of Nigeria can adopt or bring about some changes in their personal lives to address these issues?
Yes, I think the rest of Nigerians can adapt to it and they can adopt these changes too. Or it boils down to sensitization. Why I'm always keen on sensitization because I feel like when you know something and you get to pass it around for the next person to know too, you've actually created a balance of understanding and the person can actually work better. So if other state governments can come across collectively, to sensitize the citizens on why and the need they should pay attention to the environment, I think it's an achievable goal. Okay, and no matter how slow the processes might be, okay, if we put in an effort to make it work, it's definitely get to work.
I love hearing that. 100% agree. So at the end of every episode, we like to ask our guests, and we usually ask ourselves, where you rank a problem on a scale of 1 to an apocalypse coming. We've been doing that for this series. So as far as the solid waste management problem in Abia right now, in Abia State, where would you rank it on a scale of 1, okay, it's not that big a problem, it's getting done, to apocalypse coming, oh my God, you guys, we have a serious issue and nothing's going to change if we don't do something very soon? Where would you put it?
I'll rank it on an 8.9.
You know what? Ajwa always gives me shit for adding an 8 point something or a 7 point something. But thank you. Thank you for that, Ken. 8.9.
I think he went further than you by saying 8.9, which is a very specific number. I love it. I love hearing it.
Oh my God, that's very specific.
Yes, and I had to do that because of to show how important it is for our communities around. So if we can pay attention as an individual, pay attention as an organization group, and pay attention as a community, we can actually go a long way to curb all these solid waste and then probably manage it better and make our environment a better place.
Yeah, that's true. Especially ones like yours, right? Using locally sourced materials. Could you please let our guests know where they can find you online or in person, your store as well?
All right. So I have a mobile store and I have a working shop too. KT103 Shopping Center Complex here in Abia. So you can find me online with on Instagram.com/fabrics by Nonso, Nonso. Yes, and then I'm on Twitter too with Twitter.com/I am Ken Ajah.
So thank you very much for that, Ken. So question for all of you guys out there who are listening. We talked about a lot about movements and what young people are doing. Do you guys think the younger generation will be able to push the government in ways that the previous generation has not been able to? Keep in mind, we are not discounting the work of the previous generation in Nigeria. Unlike maybe some other places, Nigerians have always been very good at like mobilizing in their youth, and you can find that in different generations, all the way going back to like my great grandma. And do you guys think that the communal effort that we're seeing now will bring the change that the government hasn't been able to do, will force that response? Let us know. We really want to hear from you guys. We're still on break for another week, one more week before full episodes are back. Although you guys, these interviews might as well be a full episode. Y'all are welcome. We have one more interview left. We love you guys for listening so much. Thank you guys. Leave us some reviews. Those of you who aren't on it yet, get on it. Rate us. Send us your audience questions. DMs stay open. Find us on Twitter at Planet Policy Pal, Instagram at Planet Policy Pals, and like our Facebook page. Stay safe, stay wonderful, and as always,
Keep
learning, pals.